What is good, everybody? This is Charles from Team COG, coming at you guys here with a MathMech deck profile. And guys, I know with the recent LCS win of Virtual Worlds, with all like the crazy Tri-Brigade stuff coming out, you guys are probably expecting that and not a MathMech. However, I gotta tell you guys that I'm still waiting on my Tri-Brigade cards, and I just didn't think about even getting Virtual Worlds until now. It's too late. So with that being said, guys, this deck is a straight sleeper. This deck has been featured on MCole40's channel the past three videos, or past two videos, so, or however you want to say it. And yeah, I had this deck. If you guys remember checking out my other videos, I was like predicting or foreshadowing this deck being built. I finally just got my MathMech Albertians, which was the finishing point of the whole deck. So this deck is just a crazy sleeper, guys. It is just, it's just amazing. It's like its original conception was to go second, but thankfully to some generic Cyverse cards, it can now go first, giving it not the dependency of the die roll. But without further ado, we'll just go ahead and jump into the profile. And guys, remember, if you guys want to help support the channel, hit that join button down below. We're at 16 channel members, and I want to get to 20. At 20, we do like a huge, every 10 channel members, we do like a huge giveaway for members only. And remember, guys, if you guys want to get this beautiful playmat now, go ahead and check out the link down in the description below at teamcogcompany.site and go ahead and get your awesome Gearsu Rising playmat today before they all run out. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the profile. So to start out, guys, you have to play 3 Edition. This card is very self-explanatory. It is a level 4 Cyverse monster. It special summons, you target a monster on the field, give it 1,000 attack, and then special summon it. Then you're locked into Cyverse. This card is like, in my opinion, this is like the most expensive card in the deck outside of Albertian. For some reason, I guess it was a short printed super. But it's really good. It's just an extra extender. This deck has like crazy extenders and stuff like that. So on top with Edition, you have triple subtraction. I noticed that some people have cut these two down. These right here have been cut down to like 2 and 2, and I don't think that is correct, because by opening them, you have the ability to play through a plethora of hand traps, which is something this deck really can be. The deck can really, like, I wouldn't say struggle at, but it's really just super powerful at doing, because the amount of extenders that you do play. You play like a total of like 12 extenders. And do take note that every one of these is very similar to Crusadia. Every normal summonable Cyverse is a starter. So that kind of gives you like a Crusadia aspect with it. Finally, we have 3 MathMech Final Sigma. So this card is very unique. If you don't control any monster in the extra monster zone, you can special summon it from the hand or graveyard, but then you're locked into Cyverse, and banish it when it leaves the field. And then another thing that this is very interesting is when you're synchro summoning, if you're synchro summoning for a MathMech synchro, this can be treated as a non-tuner. But right here we have, like I said, 9 of the best extenders the deck has, and this is what allows us to practically play without even conducting our normal summon, which is like unheard of, which to me seems unheard of. You can pretty much start out your combo by specialing this and then specialing this. You're locked into Cyverse, which sometimes isn't. It's only, that kind of restriction only comes up very, not very often. There's only one bit monster that's in the extra deck that's not a Cyverse that you can make if you don't use these guys' effects, which you normally can make. It's quite frequently. That's why I have it in the list. But yeah, so you can practically do your entire combo without even conducting your normal summon. And then, even if you do have to like normal summon, you have like cards such as Balance Lord, which is like one of the best cards in the deck that allow you to get an additional normal summon that you can use whenever. And yeah, so continuing on here, we have 2 Nabla. So Nabla used to be a mandatory 3 of, but what this guy here is, he's like kind of like the Lone Fire Blossom. Tribute this to summon 1 from the deck, which allows you to practically beam out like any card you're missing. Most importantly, you use this to beam out your Diameter, which then allows you to set up for your like super factorial plays, which is like a totally insane trap card that the deck has. But yeah, 2 Nabla. I guess something else to talk about before I go on, because outside of all these, Nabla actually has an effect when it's sent to the graveyard. You can target 1 Cyverse monster you control, and it can do make 2 attacks. So that's where like the going second in conjunction come up with. You can have like Nabla target the Final Sigma, and then you can attack twice, and the Final Sigma is just a boss of a card on its own. So yeah, 2 Nabla. Rounding out here, we have 2 MathMech Diameter. So this card is very unique on normal summon, and only on normal summon. Should have been special, but you know, Konami's a little worried for some reason. On normal summon, you can bring back a Cyverse card, but you can't use its effect. So this right here just allows you for recursion, and any MathMech Synchro or XYZ used with this card's effect gets the effect to be a quick effect Omni Negate, which is extremely good in going first. They are some like 3-card combos, where if you happen to open Diameter, you can like set up anti-Nibiru plays, but most importantly, like, we're not too worried about Nibiru, because like we can do so much without normal summoning, and then when they Nibiru you can take the token, you can turn into Link Spider, but a lot of times like you have like extenders that you can just, you know, summon out, especially like if they end up Hitting your entire board with an brew, summon a token. You then can use Sigma to summon itself, because now there's no more card in the extra monster zone. You know, the extensions are there, but there are certain 3-card combos that allow you to use Diameter, and you can set up anti-hand traps completely, because this doesn't just stop monsters, it stops anything, so do keep that in mind. 1 division and 1 multiplication. So multiplication in here is simply for like the kind of like the final Sigma play, because you use this card to like double the attack of a card up here when it's sent. That's practically all that it's used for, and it's just the name. Division is very interesting in certain combo strings, because you can summon Division off of the Nabla, and then you can use Division to destroy, tribute a card in your extra monster zone and summon 1 from grave and 1 from hand. And that allows you to make some pretty cool Borreload Savage plays and stuff like that. It's just in here for that way. It's like one of the combo pieces in making a super strong board with Borreload Savage. But that's it for the Cyverse card, or not the Cyverse, excuse me guys. That's it for the MathMech side of the deck. As you guys can tell, it's quite a hefty engine, but most of the MathMechs are extenders, like very few are starters. But that's something else. Even if you open like the worst 2 MathMechs, as long as you open like these guys and like any form of extender, so like even if you open like division, multiplication, and or addition, subtraction, Sigma, you still have full combo, which is something that's very interesting. Moving on to just your generic Cyverse, the best Cyverse card in the deck is Triple Balancer Lord. I noticed some people will cut this guy, and I don't really, I know like maybe cutting it to 2 might be a good option, but I've still been testing with it, and I really like it at 3. But what this guy does, it allows you to get an additional normal summon, and this guy, when banished, allows you to special summon a Cyverse card from your hand, which in conjunction with your Cyverse Wicked Kid is like a full, like it's amazing. This card is just like a single card, like this right here is like the best starter card in your entire deck. And then also the fact that it gives you an additional normal summon is really good, because again, like if you activate the effect, pay 1,000, you get the additional normal summon, you combo off, you're interrupted, you still have that additional normal summon further down the turn to practically extend and play through disruption. So that's why I like seeing it at 3. Now this card right here is definitely like my personal preference. You don't see this in a lot. You see Lady Debug instead, but I am playing 3 Flame Buffalo. And the reason I'm playing 3 Flame Buffalo is because sometimes you'll open like multiples of cards, like multiple Bouncer Lords, multiple Nablas, just one or the other, multiple Sigmas, and Sigma's actually really good to get to the grave, multiple additions, subtractions, multiple hand traps, you name it. Flame Buffalo allows you to pitch that and draw 2 cards, which allows you to draw into your side deck, which allows you to draw into more extenders, whereas Lady Debug normal summons you and practically gets you 1 card. This card gets you 2 cards, and even though the 1 card you get from Lady Debug is a for sure grab, the card you get from Buffalo is still like an additional card in the game where you need all the hand and card advantage you can get. Buffalo is definitely, in my opinion, the better choice. The only thing that would make this card better is if it was a level 4, but it is what it is. You very seldom use this to do any plays outside of a normal summon, and that's just it. Like, it's another good normal summon outside of Balancer Lord that you can like use. And like I said, I know some people like Lady Debug, but if I normally debug, get 1 search, you know, like what if my hand's like complete trash, you know, like you just go on and lane, like, you know, my hand's trash, normal Lady Debug, search a card, and that's all you can do because your hand is garbage. But with what Flame Buffalo allows you to do is normal summon, link off, pitch a card, draw 2 cards, draw into extra extenders, and then like you have full combo, which is really important in my opinion. But that's up to personal preference. Like I said, most people like to play Lady Debug. I, however, am leaning towards Flame Buffalo. Moving on, we have 3 Microcoder. This card is absurd. It just allows, if you're going to link summoning a Code Talker monster, you can use this card in your hand plus a card on your field, and then when this card is sent from the field or hand, it allows you to search a Signet card, which is Signet Mining, Signet Conflict, you know, a list of Signet cards that we only are using to search Conflict and or Mining. But this card is just really good throughout the combo, and I've noticed that it's not entirely necessary, because like you can set up like a pretty hunky board without getting to Conflict, but Conflict is just a searchable counter trap, and this doesn't cause any problems. I have found myself a lot of times, believe it or not, using Flame Buffalo and then pitching an extra Microcoder. But this is actually like, I've drawn into like this card quite a bit off of Flame Buffalo. Like I've pitched 1, drawn 2, so maybe like, I don't even think like this is the cuttable card, but it's definitely like kind of hints to me like it needs to be cut down to 2, but I still like it at 3. But anyway, we're continuing on here. Finally, triple Parallel Exceed. Parallel Exceed is like, you know, we all know how good this card is. I mean, there's no need to even go into it. But in this deck, it's actually really good because it gives you Tribute Fodder, which you can use for like your Nabla, your Division, and stuff like that, which is a really solid card. Again, like 1 single normal summon plus any of your like 12 extenders can get you full combo. It's just really good. You normally, and like this card right here that can hard make Albertian, which is really good, allows you to search out any MathMech card to continue on. And this card, I don't think this card is searchable off of Mining, because I think Mining requires level 4 or lower. But I mean, like, if you hard open it, it's pretty good. Finally, for the final monsters we are playing hand traps. We are playing 3 Ash Blossom. I've been contemplating cutting Ash Blossom because it does not do enough. Like, you need some more higher impact cards. However, Ash Blossom does hit a plethora of cards in comparison to like other hand traps. But just triple Ash, and then we do have triple draw and lock bars. So this is like the power hand trap that I chose. I would very much maybe cut Ash for like in-perm or something like that, but draw is just a turn ender, so you kind of have to play it. It's the big impact hand trap that we are choosing to play in the deck. And that's another thing that I really like about Buffalo, is whenever you decide to pitch cards, you can draw into an extender and a hand trap, which is just straight bonkers, because all you need for a combo, for the full combo to go, guys, all you need is 2 cards. So that means the other 3 cards in your hand can be anything, and that's why Buffalo allows you to filter out like other cards in your hand to potentially draw into more extenders to play through hand traps, or draw into these powerful hand traps that will allow you to disrupt your opponent even more. One thing I will say about this deck, though, that I have noticed, that in certain boards you do struggle with a follow-up, but most of the time, like if you keep the Wicked Kid up here and you summon like Lamplation, trigger Wicked Kid, grab yourself Diameter, you have a pretty good follow-up. Moving on to the spells now. We are playing triple Signet Mining. It is the Rhoda of the entire deck. I don't know why we wouldn't play it. This card is phenomenal. Pitching Sigma to, search any card and then using this Reborn the Sigma. It's just free real estate at that point. You really didn't even minus at that one, which is really good, because the discard with this, I mean, you discard something with Signet Mining, you get ashed, you cry. But now if you discard like something like Sigma and then you get ashed, but since Sigma can return itself, you don't really lose too much, kind of. You lose a little bit less in that sense, but that's it for those. Moving on, we are playing 1 Foolish, 1 Called By, and 1 Equation. So the deck list is, I believe, 40, so it's really hard to fit some more power spells in, but certain cards like Monster Reborn, I wouldn't mind fitting in. You could, if you have the money and want to, you could spend triple Tactical Talent. However, I don't think Talents is really needed, to be honest with you. I think it's one of those win more cards. I think there's been plenty of lists and decks out there that have topped without it, but if you have access to it, you can definitely find room to fit it in by cutting back like maybe a Flame Buffalo, maybe cutting back a Balancer Lord. But this is the 6 power spells I wanted to play. This is a searchable Monster Reborn, which is really good in the deck. This for Foolish Burial is just an extra starter by dumping a Sigma. However, Foolish Burial plus like Diameter is like, it is like its own little combo in a way. It's just like another dump outlet like Signet Mining. Call by the Grave, we are combo, so like we need to have the ability to see the chinky 1-of so that we can play and punish our opponent, because we're good at Yu-Gi-Oh! By seeing our 1-of. Finally, for the 2 traps, we are playing 1 Super Factorial and 1 Signet Conflict. So Super Factorial is a bomb of a card, guys. This card just straight up just says special summon and up to 3 MathMechs in your graveyard. Immediately after you target those 3, perform a Synchro or XYZ summon. So then on your opponent's turn, you Synchro or Link. Oh my goodness, you XYZ summon Lamplation, and Lamplation is a Trishula. And if you happen to have, which you're always trying to go, if you happen to have a Diameter as one of those 3, you get to Trishula your opponent, and then you have Omni Negate sitting there along with the rest of your board, which is just straight bonkers. And Conflict is just, as long as you control a Code Talker monster, negate the activation of a card or effect, banish it, and then your opponent cannot activate cards with that same name for the rest of the turn, I believe, or it's like till the end of the next turn. Yeah, there you go. And that's just, I mean, let's be honest, guys, like that's really good. However, I have thought about making, I think it was, there's another card you could play, because I would always hate using my Conflict on an in-perm, and that seems to be the continuous thing that happens, because I have IP plus the Code Talker, and they always try to in-perm the IP, and I'm not ready to tag out yet, so then I use Conflict. So maybe there's got to be something like, there's another card out there I can't remember that allows you to hold the Conflict. Oh, it's, excuse me, I know exactly what it is. It's the new card coming out. It's like Decode Talker Heat Soul. It is just a phenomenal rank 3. So like if they try to in-perm your IP, you can use IP and the Code Talker, go into the Heat Soul, and then you get to draw a card off a Heat Soul while still keeping Conflict live, and you just dodge the in-perm, which is really good. You can also do that with like other Code Talkers, but I think Heat Soul will be the best Code Talker. We don't have it yet, so once we do get it, he'll definitely be put in. So now we'll go ahead and jump into the extra deck. So for the Link 1s, we have Link Disciple, Link Devotee, and Link Karibo. A Link Karibo could actually be Link Karibo depending on your choice, but sometimes through certain combo strings, you end up leaving up the Link Karibo, and I'd much rather leave up Link Karibo than Link Karibo. This is just another way to play around in-perm really early in the game. Link Disciple and Link Devotee are the 2 main combo pieces to the earliest form of the combo. This right here allows you to tribute, to draw, and put back a card. This card locks you into only Link 2 or higher for your turn, but it also gives you 2 tokens, which we have our 2 tokens here. that allow you to link climb and stuff like that. So yeah, these two are mandatory. Like I said, Link Disciple, Link Devotee. Link Freebo is just up to preference. You could also play Link Freebo if you don't have Link Freebo, but I prefer Link Freebo because of the protection from the impermanent stuff. But there'll be a lot of times where you have to use off the Link Freebo, but I mean, it is what it is. I mean, beggars can't be choosers, am I right, guys? Moving on to the Link 2s, I think we have a plethora. We have IP Masquerano, Splash Magician, Wicked Kid, Code Talker Inverted. So IP is by far the best Link 2 out there. Splash Mage I'm kind of iffy on because it just is a Monster Reborn. I'm not entirely sold on it. It is probably a flex space you can trade out, but IP, Cyrus, Wicked Kid, and Code Talker Inverted are the 3 main ones out of the entire Link 2 package here that you have to play. Splash Mage is up to preference, to be fair. I'm not entirely like sold on it because I very seldom make it. Only in dire situations has it ever come up. But IP Masquerena, it's a Cyverse that's used, Link on your opponent's turn into such powerful cards like Appaloosa, Nightmare Unicorn. Once we get the Heat Soul, allow us to go into Heat Soul to keep her Kodak live to draw us a card, which could be a hand trap or an extender. And again, like I said, this deck really struggles with a follow-up. So excuse me, guys, my voice. I must be getting the Rona. This deck struggles with a follow-up, so Heat Soul allows you to draw an additional card to hopefully give you a better follow-up. Cyverse Wicked Kid is probably... Actually, you know what? I totally lied. IP is second best. Wicked Kid is the first best. This card is just phenomenal. Let me read this card to you guys here. This card says that this Link Summon card cannot be destroyed by a battle or card effect. Cyverse monsters this card points to cannot be destroyed by card effects. If a monster is special summoned to a zone this card points to while you control a monster except during the damage step, you can banish one Cyverse monster from your graveyard, add one Cyverse tuner from your deck to your hand. So as you guys can see, that's where if you summon Link Rebo here, you then banish Bounce Lord, add Nabla. Bounce Lord triggers on a separate chain, summoning out the Nabla. Code Talker Inverted is really good, actually. Even if you don't use Microcoder, sometimes like you don't open the best of hands because it is Yu-Gi-Oh! And you just hard make this guy and then special summon like the tuner or whatever you have in your hand that you added off of the Wicked Kid because you didn't have Balancer Lord. It's really good. And that's it for the Link 2s. Moving on for like the higher links, we have one Link 3 and one Link 4. I've actually contemplated cutting Appaloosa to just make Avram, because I like Avram a lot more. And Nightmare Unicorn, as good as it is, and it's like the most ideal thing to tag into with the IP, you sometimes don't have enough hand advantage to go into it. So you're going into like an Appaloosa for 2 or 3, and then like you have the ability to use Superfactorial to kind of protect the Appaloosa, as long as they don't force the Superfactorial prior to you IPing. It's just, I really like... And then like you put this up here, and then it's stuck up here because they have to tribute Cyber monsters in the extra monster zone. So you need like a Cyberse monster to put up here, and then you can use like Nabla Division to tribute it, and then go into Final Sigma and push for additional and more powerful damage. But, I think this right here should be Avram, and that's probably what I was going to end up going to, because like if you really think about it, with the way that the deck can set up, you'll have like a negate with Savage, a negate with Lamplation, along with like 3 forms of disruption from the last Lamplation, taken one from the monster zone, spell, and trap zone in the hand. And then you have like a code conflict. So you do have like almost 3 to 5 forms of interruption, or 5 forms of interaction, better to say, with your opponent. And I think like these are just extra overkill, and maybe Appaloosa kind of hurts you better. But at the same time, making an Appaloosa for 2 or 3 just applies additional pressure. And sometimes you can keep the Code Talker inverted here and summon it here, which is a lot better. But a lot of times you're forced to put it up here, which just kind of stinks. But these two are definitely interchangeable. Like I said, some of the cards are interchangeable, but these 2 cards are interchangeable what you want. Like I said, I'd almost prefer the Avram, because you smack Avram up here, it's already difficult to deal with. It's just, it's just a little bit harder. It's a Cyverse. It goes better with the theme. It allows you to extend past the turn 3 sort of thing. But now we're on to the MathMech, or no, excuse me, the final card we have here is Borreload Savage Dragon. So I was very iffy on this card. I actually took out, I took out my extra Link Rebo for this card. So what you're first, for all you old school MathMech players, or kind of new deck, you're gonna be like, how do you make this? You're strictly locked into Cyverse. You're only locked into Cyverse when you use, let me find them. When you use Sigma's effect, addition or subtractions effect, that's when you're locked into Cyverse. As long as you, and like throughout the combo, like if you have like Balance Lord and any other like MathMech, you are never locked into Cyverse, that entire combo string. Absolutely not. There's not a single effect that locks you in there, but when you have to use like the addition, subtraction, or Sigma to extend, that's when you lock yourself in. So a lot of times like you don't even need to, or like you can hold until you make Borreload Savage, and then you end up using their effects, and then you lock yourself into Cyverse, which is totally fine after that point, because the rest of your plays will just involve Cyverse cards. But this card right here is another, it's like a level 8 synchro that you can own. That's not, like Magma doesn't do anything going first, but this is a level 8 synchro that you can make going first, excuse me, and still apply a lot of pressure. You're more so going to be equipping like a Link 2. A lot of times throughout my testing, I've actually been stuck equipping a Link 1. But I mean, that's still a solid negate on your opponent's turn, and then you still can apply a pressure, because it is then a 3000 wanker that can just clap into anything. So, yep, 1 Savage Dragon. I really like this card. I was very hesitant on putting it in because I didn't think I'd make it. Then I did a lot of testing, and I found myself making it more often than not. And then only when your opponent interacts with you, do you really like lose the ability to make this. And even sometimes if they interact with you, you still have the additional normal summon that Bounce Lord gave you, so then you still can make Savage through your combo because you didn't use the effect of addition, subtraction, or sigma. So really good. But finally, onto the MathMech cards, we have 2 Aberration. This card is like the most expensive card in the entire deck, but what this card does is you can equip, it takes 2+ level 4 monsters. If you end up having, let's see here, detach 2, add 1 MathMech card from your deck to your hand. So that is the one that you're constantly going to be using quite a bit, because you're going to be searching out your super factorial. In the 3-card combo with Diameter that allows you to play around the rock, you end up using this early and search out Equation. Now, again, if you have to get more stuff onto it, if you have 3 material onto it, add 1 level 4 monster from your deck to your hand. It allows you to search any level 4 monster. If you have 4 on it, it allows you to search any spell and trap, which of course can be good. You can search out like Imperial Order, Red Reboot, Lightning, you know, just the plethora, it just lets you search anything, which is really good. And, yeah, so I'll have to play 2 of it, because sometimes, like, this requires anywhere from 2, and Super Factorial requires you to summon different names, so sometimes you'll get stuck with 3 MathMechs in the grave, but all 2 will be the same name, so you can't make Lamplation, but you can still make Albertion, which will still give you that Omni Negate plus a search, which is still pretty solid. Finally, we have, not finally, but we have Lamplation. Lamplation is the Trishula of the deck. When it's summoned, detach up to 3, depending if the cards are there. You can then send 1 card from the monster zone, spell and trap card zone, and your opponent's hand to the graveyard, and take note that sends, so that gets around Dragoons as well. Now, if your opponent doesn't have any monster in the spell and trap zone, you don't get to send it, so you detach 2, and then if a MathMech card would be destroyed, you can detach from this card instead. So it's just, this card is just really good. It's a solid setup to bring out and then just rip an entire board apart. It's also really good going second, because if you just hard make this before you commit, which you're going to be like, well, wait a second, how do you hard commit to making this? But like, you just make it first. Like, your opponent has a monster full, you go Sigma, Subtraction, Addition, special them out, overlay, force negates, bait negates, you name it. And then, or if they don't have negates, or you've already baited negates, make Lamplation, just sack off 3 cards, which is really strong. Now finally, we do have a MathMech Magma. This card just says, it's just a generic 8. When this card declares an attack and destroys an opponent's monster, you can destroy 2 cards on the field. So it's good for going second, allows you to clear more cards. And that was the problem I kept having with this. I kept trying to make, you'd have the ability to make a level 8 synchro, but you would always it'd just be Magma. Magma's pointless to make going first, but that's where Savage comes in. Pretty good. And then finally, the big man himself, YuGiOh MathMech Final Sigma. This card, let me read you guys this card right here for those who don't know. It's unaffected by card effects except MathMech cards while it's in the extra monster zone. Its own effect allows it to do double battle damage, and then if by some chance you happen to get rid of it, you can add 1 MathMech card from your deck to your hand. So one of the best things I've had is I've got interrupted with 3 hand traps, guys. 3 hand traps, Dogmatica invoked, and I've been able to smack Sigma up here and hold a rock in my hand, and then they can't solve this card. Nothing can solve this card while it's up here except for a Kaiju. So then, when they reach their 5th summon, I just drop Nibiru. Since this card's unaffected, Nibiru smacks down, you give him a token, and your Sigma still stays. It's just, this card is just super good. It is definitely the reason why this deck can have a very good going second and a very good turn 3 follow-up. Just make this poke for damage, and it's just really good. But like I said, it's like a Towers card, and that's kind of what I wanted in a deck, was to find a card that you could end on that's kind of like a Towers that you can just hold a line with, and Sigma does that. But that's it for the deck profile, guys. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed this. I actually will be putting up some combo videos and all that fine jazz, and some test hands of this deck to kind of show you. This deck is a major sleeper, guys, a straight rogue sleeper of the format. Please, by all means, think about checking it out. So this is Charles from Team COG, signing out.